Alright, so today let's talk about 20 of the best isometric RPGs you absolutely need to play, from modern legends like Baldur's Gate 3 to underrated gems like Encased. If you love deep stories, tactical combat, and big choices, this list is for you. Let's get into it. Encased is one of those RPGs that totally caught me off guard. It's set in an alternate 1970s, inside a mysterious dome filled with strange anomalies, lost technology, and secrets that could reshape the world or destroy it. What I loved most is how it channels the spirit of old-school Fallout, giving you the freedom to approach situations however you want. Whether you're talking your way out of danger, hacking into systems, or going full guns blazing, every action feels like it has weight. The dialogue is sharp, the world building is rich, and there's a constant atmosphere of tension and wonder. It's not just about combat, it's about surviving and thriving in a strange world that reacts to your choices. If you're into deeply reactive storytelling, grim post-apocalyptic settings, and meaningful roleplay, Encased is definitely a game you should not sleep on. It's criminally underrated and deserves way more attention than it gets. The Thaumaturge is a fresh, supernatural twist on the isometric RPG formula, and I genuinely didn't expect it to be this immersive. Set in early 1900s Warsaw, the game blends historical realism with eerie fantasy in a way that's both haunting and fascinating. You play as a Thaumaturge, a kind of mystic detective who can summon ethereal beings called Salutors to manipulate the world and uncover dark secrets. What really stands out is how the game doesn't shy away from morally complex decisions. There are no clear-cut heroes or villains, just people trying to survive in a politically and spiritually volatile world. The turn-based combat is layered, with each Salutor bringing its own unique flavor to fights. Visually, it's gritty and atmospheric, almost like walking through a living, breathing painting of Eastern Europe. If you're into mystery, unique RPG systems, and stories that make you question your own morality, this one should be on your radar. No rest for the wicked is what happens when you mix the grim darkness of Dark Souls with the isometric view and loot systems of Diablo, and the result is nothing short of intense. From the very first moment, the game throws you into a brutal, plague-ridden world where every enemy encounter could be your last. The combat is weighty and deliberate. Timing, dodging, and positioning actually matter. It's not about mindless clicking, it's about skill. The art direction is painterly and gritty, blending stylized environments with grotesque creature design that keeps the tension high. I especially love how the game balances world building and action. You're not just grinding for loot, you're uncovering dark lore, meeting tragic characters, and slowly piecing together the mystery behind the affliction plaguing the land. This one has huge potential. Dragon Age Origins isn't just one of the best isometric RPGs, it's one of the greatest RPGs ever made, period. Developed by BioWare at the height of their storytelling powers, this game drops you into the war-torn kingdom of Ferelden where a monstrous blight threatens all life. What makes this game shine is the sheer depth of choice. Your origin story changes based on your race and class, and every decision, from romance to betrayal to mercy, shapes the world in tangible ways. The characters are unforgettable. Alistair, Morrigan, Leliana, they feel like real people, not just party members. The tactical combat lets you pause and plan every move, rewarding strategy and synergy. But above all, it's the moral ambiguity that makes Origins stand out. There are no easy answers, just tough calls with lasting consequences. I've replayed this game more times than I can count, and each run feels different. If you love RPGs, this is mandatory. Disco Elysium is probably the most unconventional RPG I've ever played, and I mean that in the best way possible. There's no traditional combat, no monsters to slay, and no gear to collect. Instead, the battles happen in your mind, between logic, emotion, ego, and impulse. You play as a drug-addicted amnesiac detective trying to solve a murder in a city that's crumbling under political and social chaos. The game lets you shape your detective into a genius philosopher, a hopeless drunk, or a fascist lunatic. It's packed with some of the best writing in video game history. Clever, dark, absurd, and deeply human. Conversations feel like battles of ideology, and the internal monologues are wildly entertaining. I've never felt so immersed in a character's psyche before. If you love dialogue-heavy games, moral complexity, and experimental storytelling, Disco Elysium is a one-of-a-kind masterpiece that'll stick with you long after the credits roll.
Don't form us anymore. Us. Our love. Our unborn daughters. It's all gone. I have to go to the aerodrome. I have to leave Revachol and you. And you have to be alone. In hell. Forever. That's just the way it is.
Divinity Original Sin 2 is quite simply a modern classic, arguably the gold standard for turn-based isometric RPGs today. Set in the rich, magical world of Rivellon, the game lets you play solo or with up to 3 friends in fully co-op gameplay, and the level of freedom it offers is insane. You can kill any NPC, talk to animals, teleport enemies into lava, and even craft your own solutions to puzzles. The story is sprawling with multiple origin characters, each with their own goals and histories, and hundreds of meaningful choices that dramatically affect the outcome. The tactical combat is genius, with elemental surfaces, high ground bonuses, and so much room for creativity. Every fight feels like a chess match, but what truly sold me is how reactive the world is. Your choices matter, your builds feel personal, and your journey never plays the same way twice. It's one of the most complete and satisfying RPGs I've ever experienced. Last Epoch is one of the best rising stars in the action RPG genre, and while it's not as story-heavy as some others on this list, its sheer depth in character building and time-traveling lore totally deserves attention. You play as a hero thrown through different eras of a doomed world, trying to rewrite fate and prevent its annihilation. The standout feature? Its mastery system. Each base class branches into multiple specialized paths that drastically change your playstyle. You could start as a mage and evolve into a time-bending spellblade or a lightning-throwing sorcerer. The loot system is rewarding, the skill customization is deep, and it nails that one more run addiction. I've spent hours just theory crafting builds and watching them come to life in real time. It's still being updated, but it already plays like a polished, full-fledged ARPG. If you want that Diablo-style combat but with more nuance and a modern twist, Last Epoch is worth diving into. If you crave complexity, Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous might just be your holy grail. Built on the famous tabletop rule set, this game is not afraid to overwhelm you, with its depth, its options, and its sheer scale. You command a crusade against demonic forces in a war-torn world, and your character is more than just a hero. You're a mythical figure whose powers grow with each moral or divine decision. The game offers a mind-blowing number of classes, archetypes, and alignment paths. Whether you want to become a lich, an angel, or a swarm of locusts, yes, really, it lets you. The combat is tactical and can be paused or played in real time with pause, depending on your style. The writing is mature, filled with tough choices, and the party members each bring unique perspectives. It's not for casuals. This one demands time, attention, and strategic planning. But the payoff? Easily one of the most rewarding CRPGs ever made.
The Inheritor, guide my blade!
Rogue Trader takes the massive, brutal universe of Warhammer 40k and finally gives it the CRPG treatment fans have been begging for. You're a Rogue Trader, essentially a licensed space pirate with nearly unlimited authority, charting your own path through the stars. The game perfectly captures that grimdark sci-fi fantasy with rich lore, bizarre xenos, political treachery, and moral choices that actually impact your empire. The turn-based combat is solid and feels tailored to 40k's chaotic universe. Positioning, suppressive fire, and unique powers make every skirmish a puzzle. What I really loved is the freedom in role-playing. You can be a noble diplomat, a ruthless inquisitor, or a full-on heretic. The companions are full of character, each with their own agendas and backstories. And yes, you get to build and command your own void ship. For fans of Warhammer or deep spacefaring RPGs in general, Rogue Trader is a dream come true.
Follow my lead. Claim to the stars.
Path of Exile 2 isn't just a sequel. It's a full-on evolution of one of the deepest action RPGs ever created. Building on the insane complexity of the original, PoE 2 adds a brand new campaign, drastically overhauled skill systems, and a visual upgrade that truly brings its dark, corrupted world to life. This game is a theory crafter's dream. The level of customization is wild, with hundreds of passive nodes, class archetypes, and spell combinations. You can build anything, from a lightning-flinging tank to a blood-fueled glass cannon. What I love is how the combat feels heavier and more cinematic, with better animations and more impactful hits. The world design leans into the bleak gothic tone fans adore, and even though it's free to play, there's no pay-to-win nonsense. If you're the kind of player who enjoys endless build tinkering and carving your own playstyle through gritty loot hunts, Path of Exile 2 might just be your next obsession. Icewind Dale Enhanced Edition is a love letter to hardcore RPG fans, especially those who crave combat over politics. Unlike its cousin Baldur's Gate, this one focuses less on deep branching dialogues and more on challenging tactical battles set in the frostbitten north of the Forgotten Realms. You create your entire party from scratch, 6 characters with their own classes, stats, and spells, and guide them through caverns filled with monsters, cults, and ancient magic. The writing is still there, rich with lore, but the spotlight is on using your brain in combat, flanking enemies, managing spell cooldowns, and using formations. The Enhanced Edition modernizes the interface and makes it more accessible without losing that crunchy old-school vibe. I still return to it when I want that pure dungeon-crawling experience where each victory feels earned. If you're into the strategic side of D&D and want a challenge that respects your brainpower, Icewind Dale delivers.
It's my steel!
Mercy on you.
Take
Speak your
that!
mind. How can I help? Your command? Yes, at once.
At first glance, Hades might seem like just another flashy roguelike, but trust me, it's one of the most compelling isometric RPG experiences you'll ever have. You play as Zagreus, the rebellious son of Hades, trying to escape the underworld over and over again. But what sets this apart isn't just the lightning-fast, addictively smooth combat. It's the evolving story. Every death brings new dialogue, new character developments, and new interactions with Greek gods who are full of personality. You actually grow emotionally attached to them over time. The RPG mechanics are rich too. Boons from gods that shape your build each run, permanent upgrades, and relationship progression systems that give the game heart. Supergiant Games somehow turned a genre built on repetition into a moving narrative journey. Stylish, fast-paced, and packed with soul, Hades isn't just a great game, it's an artistic achievement that blends action and story better than most AAA titles.
Can't do that.
The mark of chaos is upon you, isn't it? A force older than I. Yet one which you ought not trust so readily. No rhyme or reason to that one at all.
Wasteland 3 is like stepping into a snow-covered apocalypse where humor and horror dance side by side. Set in post-nuclear Colorado, you lead a squad of desert rangers trying to restore order in a world that's anything but orderly. What makes it great is the flexibility. You can shoot first, talk your way out, or let your toaster-repairing companion do the talking. I'm not kidding, this game's sense of humor is dark, twisted, and sometimes downright brilliant. The turn-based combat is top tier with environmental hazards, cover mechanics, and deep skill trees. Choices carry real weight. Entire factions can rise or fall based on your decisions, and you'll constantly be second-guessing your moral compass. The voice acting is excellent, the world is layered with weird lore, and the character customization makes each playthrough unique. If you liked the classic Fallout games or want a post-apocalyptic RPG with both brains and bite, Wasteland 3 should be high on your list.
Most of us have family working there. And what with it being locked down and all, we don't know if they're alive or dead or if we'll ever see them again. And Benny won't tell us a goddamn thing. My wife's in there, Florinda. Bandits. I hear a lot of them used to work for the factory. Now they try to raid it. Don't bother us much. I guess 'cause we ain't got much to steal. Got a hideout somewhere in the scrapyard. Nobody knows where exactly. That's why folks call them the Ghost Gang.
Neverwinter Nights was groundbreaking when it launched, and thanks to the Enhanced Edition, it still holds up surprisingly well today. Built on the 3rd edition D&D rule set, it gives you a main campaign plus a universe of player-made modules, some of which are better than the official content. You start as a lone hero trying to stop a deadly plague, but where the game truly shines is in its customizability. You can play online with friends, run your own persistent world as a dungeon master, or dive into one of the hundreds of community adventures. It's like a digital D&D toolkit. The gameplay is slower paced, but it lets you build characters exactly how you want. Rogues, paladins, necromancers, and even multi-class hybrids. While the graphics are dated, the spirit of adventure and creative potential are timeless. If you want a game where role-playing and imagination take center stage, Neverwinter Nights is an isometric gem that's still alive today thanks to its loyal modding community. Planescape Torment is not your average RPG. It's a deeply philosophical, text-heavy experience that dares to ask, what can change the nature of a man? Set in the bizarre, metaphysical Planescape universe, you play as the Nameless One, a scarred, immortal figure trying to uncover the story behind his countless past lives. What makes this game unforgettable isn't the combat, which is basic at best, but the writing. Every conversation, every line of text is brimming with existential weight and dark humor. The characters are some of the most original in gaming. A floating, foul-mouthed skull, a chaste succubus, a burning man who can't die. It's like an interactive novel fueled by twisted imagination. Choices matter in unexpected ways, and morality is never black and white. If you're craving a story-rich, thought-provoking RPG that treats the player like an adult and isn't afraid to go deep, Planescape Torment is an experience like no other. Solasta Crown of the Magister is one of the most faithful Dungeons & Dragons adaptations ever made in the CRPG world. Built on the D&D 5e rule set, it embraces turn-based tactics and dungeon crawling in all their glory. What makes Solasta stand out is how it implements verticality. You're not just moving across a flat grid, you're climbing walls, pushing enemies off ledges, and using the environment like you would in a real tabletop game. You create your own 4-character party, each with unique personalities and voice lines, and set off on a quest that's classic high fantasy. While the narrative isn't quite as deep as some others on this list, the combat system is where it truly shines. Every encounter feels like a strategic puzzle. It also gives you honest-to-goodness dice rolls, which just hits differently if you're a D&D nerd like me. If you love tactical depth and pure gameplay mechanics, Solasta is a blast.
Well done!
Wildermyth is easily one of the most charming and unexpectedly emotional RPGs I've ever played. It takes a procedurally generated storytelling system and turns it into a living comic book, complete with handcrafted art and branching dialogue. You guide a party of heroes through multiple generations of mythic adventures, and what's crazy is how personal it all becomes. Your characters age, fall in love, suffer loss, retire, or die heroically. Their relationships shape the story, and random narrative events evolve into epic, heartfelt memories. The combat is grid-based and simple at first, but it grows complex with class synergies, terrain manipulation, and magical abilities that really make you feel like a legend in the making. It's not about flashy graphics, it's about storytelling, creativity, and player agency. If you love creating your own legends and seeing your decisions ripple across time, Wildermyth is a one-of-a-kind RPG that punches far above its indie weight. Now, Desperados 3 might not be a traditional RPG in the strictest sense, but its blend of tactical stealth, character-driven gameplay, and immersive storytelling earns it a spot here. Set in the ruthless American Wild West, you lead a team of specialists, each with their own unique abilities, from throwing knives to mind control, and you'll need all of them to survive. What I love is how it turns every encounter into a puzzle. You're always outnumbered, so brute force rarely works. Instead, it's about timing, creativity, and planning the perfect chain of actions. The game's isometric view gives you full control of the battlefield, and every level is masterfully designed with multiple approaches. It also has a surprising amount of character depth and personal backstory. The voice acting, writing, and even the humor are spot on. If you're into smart, methodical gameplay that rewards patience and precision, Desperados 3 is a total gem.
Just getting started. Let's do this. Time to use beyond. All right, my beauty. Let's lure someone into your embrace. Let's go.
Hey, I heard that.
Would hate to be that guy.
See?
Baldur's Gate 3 is not just a return to form, it's a towering achievement in modern RPG design. Developed by Larian Studios, this game takes the Dungeons & Dragons 5e system and translates it beautifully into an immersive, reactive world where almost anything is possible. You play as a character infected by a Mind Flayer parasite, but instead of just surviving, you're tempted by power, influence, and transformation. The choices are immense. You can romance party members, betray companions, become a godlike being, or just mess with NPCs for fun. The combat is turn-based, rich with possibilities, jumping off ledges, throwing enemies, casting spells with cinematic flair, and it's all highly strategic. But what really blew me away was the writing, the voice acting, and how alive every character feels. It's dark, emotional, hilarious, and jaw-droppingly reactive. If you want the pinnacle of isometric RPGs, this is it. Baldur's Gate 3 isn't just Game of the Year material, it's a genre-defining masterpiece. Diablo 4 may be more of an action RPG, but it's earned its place among the best isometric experiences out there. It returns to the franchise's darker, gothic horror roots with a brutal, oppressive world that feels truly cursed. You play as one of 5 classes, each with deep skill trees, and carve your path through a vast, open-world version of Sanctuary, battling legions of demons and uncovering sinister lore. The combat is fast, visceral, and deeply satisfying, with a fluidity that makes even routine skirmishes exciting. What really sets Diablo 4 apart from its predecessors is the world building. It feels more alive, more connected. Towns react to your presence, world bosses bring players together, and dungeons are everywhere. The tone is bleak, the story surprisingly emotional, and the endgame systems, while still evolving, offer plenty to grind. If you crave intense, loot-driven gameplay with an addictive feedback loop and AAA polish, Diablo 4 delivers in spades.
Enough fury.
Alright, that's the list. Which one's your favorite? Or did I miss one that deserves to be here? Drop a comment, hit that like button if you enjoyed it, and follow for more awesome game picks. Catch you in the next one.